Right, fats. One of the last few videos of Nutrition for Dummies. I hope you knew, or maybe I don't hope you knew everything what I've just said in the past videos. It means I'm actually providing something. And if you do like the stuff that I'm doing, you could potentially subscribe. You could be my first ever subscriber. Friends don't count, just in case any yous are watching. But anyway, fats. Last macronutrient. There is another one in alcohol, but we'll talk about that later. For the interest of this series, or whatever you want to call it. We need to act like alcohol is technically a bad thing. But again, that's for a conversation later. But that does provide energy. So you might hear people say there's actually 4 energy providing macronutrients, which is technically true. But anyway, fat. So this is another one of the essential ones, like protein. So you cannot survive without it. This could be a potential other one that somebody says, well, I don't eat a lot of fats, how am I surviving? But there's plenty of traces of fat in your food. And I don't think people realise what traces of food are in the foods that they eat. So I think a lot of people, so if you think about like peanut butter, a lot of people say that peanut butter is a protein, but it actually provides more fats than it does protein. And also with eggs, I think some eggs, when I say some, like really small eggs, like the yolk would be bigger than the egg white, so it actually provides more fat than protein. So it's like when people say about can of juices, like, oh, that's a fat-free can of juice, when they actually provide no calories. Like, just shows how technically some people are stupid. But anyway, I think there's a big problem with people not actually knowing what's really in their food. But we'll speak about that later. Anyway, so people will eat traces of it and not even realise it. Unless you this is where calorie counting and stuff, like watching what you actually eat for 6 months of your life, could then be something that you learn for the rest of your life. If you do something for 6 months, you will never forget it. And I remember helping a friend years ago, and she tried to have granola in her bowl, and she looked at the serving, and she poured out a serving, and she was like, is that all that fucking is? And it was like 130 calories for like maybe 4 or 5 bits. But anyway, so yeah, traces. For every gram of fat that you have, you get 9 calories. And so if you have 100 grams of it, you get 900 calories. It's very, I wouldn't say it's unrealistic, but 100 grams is a lot for fat. So not a lot of people maybe even reach that, but it's just worth bearing in mind. The positives of why you need it is it helps absorb vitamins, amongst other things. I read up that it's good for like cell production and maintenance, but I'll be honest, I don't know to what level, so you'll just have to trust me on that. The other benefits of it is it provides energy, so it helps like slow digestion as well. So when I was younger, a few years ago, like, because based on the last video and kind of following like bodybuilders and stuff, they just talked about carbs. Like, carbs is the one thing you need, and then protein, and fats you can just kind of do away with. And I remember a couple of years ago when I was trying to lose weight to then build back up, I was eating lunch and it wasn't really satisfying me, and I thought I'm going to have some eggs, and I put eggs on top of it, and that helped keep me feel full and satiated for the rest of the day. So even though it provides a lot of energy, it still has benefits to it. So this is where like low fat diet like followers will be like, it's a very dense energy, it's a dense calorie, you get like a ton of calories for each gram, whereas if you have it in moderation, it's still very good for you. Provides insulation, so that means fat doesn't mean that you're going to gain fat, but it can help with gaining it. So you might be a bit skinny, and it might be getting to the winter time, and you want to help feel warm, so you can add a bit of fat to yourself. But that kind of ties in with the point I'm going to make in a minute. But anyway, like I said, it's dense in calories. So if you're struggling to gain weight or lose weight, if you adjust them, that could help. I know of friends. I know, like, if you follow like strong men who eat thousands and thousands of calories a day, they add like olive oil to their shakes or cream in their shakes because it gives them calories. It's like the mass gainers. They don't really provide fat though, actually, but they just have to do anything and everything to gain weight, because gaining weight for some people is harder than others. So I've put here, it's easy to consume without realising, and that kind of goes back to the point I made about people don't really realise what's in their food. So like a chicken thigh has a decent amount of fat in it compared to a chicken breast, but because it's cheaper in the shops, people get the chicken thigh, but then don't realise the additional calories of it. So you never really look at a plate and go, holy shit, there's a lot of fat in there, whereas you could do that with carbs and protein. So it's quite hard to notice. I've put boring there, and what I mean by that is like the sources of protein, like peanut butter I love, and like mayonnaise and things like that, but you get to have them, you need to have them in such small quantities if you want to keep within sort of any caloric goal. So that's the reason why I put it as boring. But other than that, other than the two sources or two or three more others, they're really boring. Like, nobody wants to add olive oil to their salad, or if you do, you're a bit of a weirdo. But like cooking 10 grams of cooking oil, or 15 grams, I can't remember, but it's about 90 calories. So there's almost 100 calories at the bottom of the frying pan that you've got to add to your meal without even realising. And that's where like 1 calorie sprays and things come in handy. But I know you lose oil and things like that because it'll stay in the pan, but to avoid weighing all that shit out, it is it adds a decent amount to your meal without potentially even realising. The upside to fats is if you go to restaurants and stuff, they'll likely use the fattiest meats, because that's what makes them taste like amazing. So there's a guy on YouTube called Sam the Cooking Guy, and he's got a t-shirt called Fat Equals Flavour, and that's what it means. So like when you render fat and then you cook in it, it makes, like if you think of a burger that comes out from a restaurant and it's like usually dripping in juices and stuff, like that's all, the majority of that's just going to be fat, and that's what again tastes delicious. But you would never see a chef come out with cook with like a 5% bit of mince, because it just looked dry as fuck. It would look terrible. But these are the sort of things you need to weigh up if you're trying to potentially improve your life. And I get the one thing to add here is they're easy to adjust without you kind of realising. So if you consciously make an effort to lower your fats, you could change from that chicken thigh to chicken breast. You'll lower the calories and not really notice it. All you're likely going to change is maybe the chicken might be quite like a lot drier, and it might not be as rich in flavour, but you can make up for that with like spices and shit like that. So that's when like becoming not too bad in the kitchen might help you. And on the flip side of that, if you're trying to gain weight, you could change from chicken breast to chicken thigh. But there's other examples like changing from high fat, like normal mayonnaise, to lighter than light mayonnaise, or vice versa. And you know, like that peanut butter powder, instead of getting like proper caloric peanut butter, you would just use the powder, and it's like infinitely less calories. And then like the calorie cooking spray and shit like that. So if you need to adjust your intake, it's quite easy without even noticing. It's like going from a Pepsi to a Pepsi Max, or an Iron Brew to an Iron Brew Extra. And if somebody says, oh well, they taste completely different, and you're not willing to do that change, again, you're a bit of a fucking idiot, because you're just being awkward. You're just being like, there is a very easy way to change your calories and potentially improve your life, but you're being stubborn just because of a slight difference in taste. Like, fucking hell. Anyway, last point I've already kind of made, but eating fat doesn't make you fat. So, but it will add to your calories, which then depending on what situation you're in with your calories, you'll either gain weight or lose weight or maintain. But again, we'll get into that stuff later on. I think I'm done here, so we'll call it there.